Welcome to Movie Mode. Let's see if we remember how to do this. Austin Burton, you're looking bright and shiny.
Thank you.
Do you feel that way?
I feel great. I'm very well rested. Just kidding. I stayed up to 1 a.m. watching Jake Paul and Mike Tyson mosey around a ring for 20 minutes. So that was not worth my time, Ryan.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm surprised. I was around a lot of people today that I didn't expect to watch a fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, but it's all I've heard about today. I did not watch it. I was in bed by 8 o'clock, but doesn't sound like I missed anything.
No, the fights before, which I wasn't even excited for, were great. There was actually a huge upset in the one right before, and the first two were entertaining. And then I'm like, all right, we've got to get things going here. Can we match the hype with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson? And here's the thing, man. One, it could have absolutely been rigged. Okay, they made a lot of money. They could have agreed, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. But two, it's like, this is a 58-year-old guy. Okay, I don't care if it's Mike Tyson, who's, first of all, walking around with a leg brace, but it's a 58-year-old guy trying to keep up with a 27-year-old in his prime who's training every day. Say what you will about Jake Paul. It's impressive what he did to get that much attention, to get all those celebrities there, to one of the biggest live stream sporting events in history in the United States. That's awesome. But man, I expected something. Like, even if it was Mike getting knocked out, which I would have hated, I expected something. But they hugged, and it was it was pretty lame.
Did you have any issues with Netflix? Like streaming quality or anything?
First of all, I'm terrified because my Steelers play the Chiefs on Christmas Day on Netflix. And I'm like, if they can't handle this, they're definitely not going to be able to handle that, dude. It was horrible. Like, I had to get out of the stream multiple times, click back in, because it would stop. It would get to 25% loading. The screen would go black, and all I would see is the loading bar. And that's all I saw on Twitter, man. Like, people were freaking out. Hey, I just want to watch the fight. No one was able to. Actually, Antonio Brown, who's been everywhere lately, Instagram live streamed the fight. Okay. He was there. He was pretty far back, but he was there, and got 10 million people watching his Instagram live stream because Netflix was not loading properly. And I think today he tweeted out, he said Netflix found out and they sent him like a disclaimer. So he's in trouble. But yeah, 10 million people last night.
Is Antonio Brown the one that shouts out like white man of the day or something like that?
Yeah, cracker of the day.
Yeah. Can you figure out a way to be that, please?
Man, first of all, I have a love-hate relationship with AB because AB was a Pittsburgh Steeler for about 8 years, and he's our greatest receiver in history. He was my favorite player for years. He went off the deep end. He started CTE ESPN. We think he's got CTE. That's a speculation at this point. But yeah, he started CTE ESPN. But then he went full political mode and was like backing Trump for the last several months. Pennsylvania was a swing state. People in Pennsylvania love Antonio Brown. I'm not saying AB helped win Trump the election. I'm just saying he got a lot of people to sign up in Pennsylvania. That's all I'm saying. So we are living in the craziest timeline, okay? Antonio Brown helped get a president elected. What is going on, Ryan? It's insane.
Yeah, I really do feel like a lot of the YouTubers and internet personalities, they definitely helped Trump win
for sure
this time around. Like, I feel it. I could tell. They just made a lot smarter moves, I guess. And the fact that like Trump and JD Vance and Musk, they all consecutive episodes on Rogan and things like that. Like, you could feel it. I was cracking up because I just woke up one morning and Tony Hinchcliffe was doing the Trump rally at MSG. And I just like couldn't believe it because as someone who watches Kill Tony every single week and has for years, I know that Tony leans right, but I never expected him
No, me neither.
to be there, to declare for. I didn't expect him to do any of that. And so,
No.
what a weird thing to experience. And then, obviously, that's just me feeling that way without including the controversial joke. Like, I just felt that way anyway. And then the fact that he, made the joke, the Puerto Rico joke or whatever, just wild is all I have to say. Just wild. Weird thing to experience. But anyway, that's all behind us. That was how long ago? It was 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago.
Jeez.
But obviously, we're an American podcast, and how are we going to get back on here and not at least touch on it?
People in other countries are listening to this going, what's going on in y'all's country, man? You got Tony Hinchcliffe on stage at a rally. You got Antonio Brown promoting. It's insane, dude.
If you look at the comments on Rogan's podcast, it's a ton of international love. It's just like, we love Trump, shout out from Sweden. And it's just like on and on it goes. It's a lot of international listeners that like tune into that kind of stuff too. So, I mean, that's got to be the reason why the Trump, Musk, X space or whatever you call them, X spaces, Twitter spaces, that was, look, we know Elon Musk loves the letter X.
Yes,
he names his kid X or Xavier. He named the app X. He has SpaceX, but I just realized that spaces is what they call the thing on X. So he has X space and SpaceX. I am probably stupid because someone has already come up with that. But anyway. What else is going on? You said you're not tired or you are tired. I am tired as shit right now. I'm always tired. It's 2 p.m. and I could probably go to bed for the night right now.
I feel that. You've been working a lot lately, Ryan. You've been feels like nonstop. You've been working. That's pretty impressive seeing what you're going through on a daily basis.
I don't know if impressive is the word, but I worked like 14 hours or the day before yesterday. Yesterday was my recovery day, and anyway, I've already worked a full day. I don't know, just tired. I'm a night owl by nature. I don't know if we've addressed that before, but so that's my default programming. But it amazes me that I will get tired at around 7, 8 o'clock, and then I'll go to bed. And if I had done that the previous 20 years of my life, my body would have accepted that as a nap, and I would have woken up an hour or two later.
Yeah.
But the fact that I can go to bed at 7, 8 o'clock and then wake up at 3 a.m. or whatever it is, and my body just thinks it's normal now. So pretty wild.
Yeah, it's hard to condition your body to get. I mean, when we had our child, I used to be a night owl. Madison would go to sleep at 8, 9 o'clock. We'd get our evening time in, and then so I would stay up until like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. every night. Now we have the baby until around 8 o'clock. Then we get our time together, watching a movie, watching Hell's Kitchen over and over for about an hour or two. And I'm going to bed at 10 or 11, which for me is just, it's strange. If my college self would have looked at my adult self and said that, I would have laughed at myself saying, dude, what's wrong with you, man? But you get so worn down during the day. And now that Riley's running around, and we just actually installed a baby gate going from our kitchen to our living room. So she is contained when I have to leave the living room because she likes to get into the kitchen cabinets and whatnot. Now that she's moving around, I feel like I'm exhausted. And I'm also, going through pneumonia. I just had that last weekend when I went to my Steelers game. I had hand, foot, mouth a couple months ago. And so I feel like the sicknesses mixed with the baby watching is just making me really tired all the time. So I'm going to bed pretty early now, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It helps that the time changed too. I guess that happened since we last pod.
dark.
But
It's dark.
but now I still get tired with the sun. So it's kind of like it's exactly the same as when I was going to bed. Yeah, but so if we didn't have the time change, it would probably be even weirder. But, once it gets dark, it's like, yeah, I'm winding down, getting ready for bed. So it hasn't been that bad. Um, a lot of long days.
Yeah.
But it's a long road to Gladiator 2, but we're almost there. We got a few more days.
We're close.
Did we decide you're going to the early screening, right? But are you also going Thursday night?
I think I'm just going to go Tuesday that way because I think there's there's Wicked, Gladiator, and one more. So I'm going to try to catch the third, whatever that third movie is. Thursday, get Gladiator out of the way. Tuesday, I'm doing Wicked. Monday, by myself with a bunch of Wicked fans, probably because it's an Amazon Prime screening. Don't know what to expect. I have no clue what that movie's going to be. So this is a packed week, but it's also a week that expands into the digital world because Critics' Choice over the last 7 days has decided to send me every movie. They have sent me A Real Pain. They have sent me Luca Guadagnino's Queer. They have sent me, so many movies I've got to get to. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. They're not going to listen. I got Lord of the Rings, the anime, and the brand new movie coming out in December. There's no social, that hasn't lifted yet. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. I'm saying it, but I got that. And so that is a movie that doesn't have an embargo lift until the middle of December. So I'm going to watch it, record my review a month early, which is insane. And so Critics' Choice coming through, Ryan. If there's a movie you haven't seen, I probably have it. And so come over. We can watch The Substance or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
The Substance is the movie that I feel like I've missed out on. Like, I don't think I needed to see it in theaters, but it's the movie that I feel like I need to get to. A Real Pain, not so much. Like, I'm glad it's good. I'm glad I'm hearing good things, but I don't feel the need to see it as of right now. But anyway, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about all this kind of stuff. So we'll figure it out. Maybe there'll be a good day for that. I want to talk to you about some TV shows.
Okay.
That I've been watching. Before we get to The Penguin, because we both seen and finished The Penguin. I mean, hell, you watched The Penguin in full like 2 months ago, a month ago. I just want to catch you up on Yellowstone. I don't think I've talked about it on Movie Mode, so let me just preface by giving you my quick thoughts overall.
Okay.
Yellowstone was a show that up until recently I'd probably seen like the first 2.5, 3, about half of the show.
Okay.
Up until about 2 weeks ago. And I probably watched those 2.5 seasons, I don't know, like over a year ago. So I watched a bunch. Did you hear me take that deep breath?
I did. Weird. It was nice. I liked it.
Anyway, I don't know where that came from. I was like hiccuping or stopping a hiccup. That was weird. So it was like a year or two ago. I started watching Yellowstone, and then it was just one of those shows that I just stopped watching for some reason. At the time, I just was like, look, this show is a vibe. It's a mood. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever. I remember making fun of John Campea because John Campea is relentless in saying, this is the best show on television. And I remember just being like, no, it isn't. But I understood why it appealed to so many different types of people, and I understood why it was popular, but silly stuff would happen. It would be kind of cheesy at parts. It would be a little soapy, but overall I got it. But with like, a lot of people have their shows that they just kind of watch and they're into, and then they just stop because life gets in the way and other shows pop up. So anyway, Yellowstone was one of those for me. So about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I saw that Yellowstone was. I have YouTube TV right now. My sister lets me use her YouTube TV, so
that's what we have.
I saw that Paramount Network was doing just a run and gun marathon through the show leading up to the season 5B premiere that premiered this past Sunday. So it just so happened that the episode that was airing was like one of the episodes like at the tail end of where I stopped. So it was a nice refresher, and I was able to kind of roll right into everything that I had missed. So before I know it, I just run through the rest of Yellowstone. And I caught up to watch the season 5B premiere.
Dang.
And look, Yellowstone is sick. Like, it is a great experience. Is it the greatest show ever with like the best writing? No, but it's really good. It's a vibe. And I don't know. It's like one of these shows that like I'm very self-aware. Like I only like the show because I'm the age I'm at.
Sure.
Like I don't know if I would take to it if I was younger, because right now I'm just kind of like, you know what? Maybe life is just about the simple things. Maybe I want to live out in Montana. Maybe I've been wrong about horses my entire life. Maybe I could ride a horse. No, they're demon beasts. But it just, there's something about it. It's relaxing. It's calm to watch, but you just grow to really. The idea that I'm just invested in this family, even though some of the most ridiculous stuff happens. I don't know, man. I've had a blast catching up with this show. And for those of you who don't know, this, season 5 has been on hiatus for a long time.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Costner left. So that was the thing is, how are they going to finish the show and finish a season without the lead actor and lead character? I don't want to spoil it for you, but like you can just guess what they do. There's been a lot of comparisons. Actually, maybe there hasn't. Maybe I'm the only one that talks about it. I haven't read a lot of Yellowstone literature, but I'm going to assume that a lot of people have compared it to Succession because of the family drama, the idea, it's like The Godfather. It's the idea that there is this patriarch who has all of these kids, and they all have varying, I don't know, interest levels and what the father does. They have different traits, different attributes, their disappointments, they, living up to expectation, all this stuff that gets worked out. Yellowstone is like Succession in that way. So anyway, Yellowstone kind of gets dealt a Succession-esque, anyway, issue with Kevin Costner leaving the show. So it's a little jarring, but I don't think it's too terribly bad. So me and my mom and my stepdad, we've been really focused on what they were going to do here. So anyway, all of this to say, binging Yellowstone has been so much fun. I want to change everything about my lifestyle because of the show. I'm still rewatching Lost with my roommate, right? We're about to start season 5.
Okay.
She told me that, because as we're watching Lost, I'll tell her stories. Like, I remember having the Lost finale party, and like, I'll show her some like memorabilia I got from that party. Like, I have a airplane ticket for Oceanic 815 with my name printed on it and stuff. And like, I have a trivia game that I made for a Lost party, and I found all those flashcards with my trivia questions. So we played that. Cool. And so I'll tell her just some things along the way. My friends used to have this inside joke about this character. So anyway, that always kind of blows her mind, because she's like, I've never had a relationship with a TV show like this. So for her to hear about what my life was like, having lived through Lost, but even my friends group used to have Parks and Rec parties. Like, we had premiere and finale parties. We dressed up as characters. So for her to hear that we did that kind of stuff, it kind of blows her mind, because she doesn't do things like that. all of this to say, Yellowstone is the first show in a while where I wish that I was having those parties. I wish we were dressing up as the characters, but we're all adults and we're all boring. We're not doing shit like that anymore. It's the first show in a while that I've wanted to get memorabilia from, because they have really great merch. You can get whiskey glasses with the Y logo on it and stuff. And so anyway, it's just a fun show that at any other time in my life, I would have been sharing it with other people. I unfortunately have not, but regardless, it's been great. So you need to I don't know where you're at in that show, but you need to watch Yellowstone. I'm assuming there's 8 episodes left. The first half of season 5 was 8, so I'm assuming the second half is 8, but we're almost to the end. I think you might be able to catch up if you wanted to in 8 weeks.
I have a lot of friends back in Eastern Kentucky in Pikeville. I don't know why it's such a hit there. All my friends who still live there talk about it. They're talking about, I remember when season 3 and 4 were coming out, and they're like, I was over at my friend's house and he's like, dude, season 3 of Yellowstone next week. And he's like, you're caught up, right? And I think I got to the end of season 2. I never got any further, not because I didn't like it, just because, things happen. That's around when life got busy and all of those things. But it's one of those shows that you hear people talk about, and they are not waiting for it all to come out and then binging it. They are watching it as it goes. Like my parents watch it as it goes, and it's kind of that old school. That's crazy. I'm saying old school. That Breaking Bad, that Lost, that Parks and Rec, that when The Office was coming on, as it picked up steam, people just waiting for the next episode. Honestly, recently, this was like a year ago, I thought about going back and starting to watch it again, maybe even starting over and then kind of catching up where I was. I was concerned about the Kevin Costner drama, though. I'm like, do I want to spend my time on this if it's just going to fumble the ending completely? So you saying that they handled it pretty well is encouraging to me. And you're not the only person I've heard say that. And so that's kind of getting me to want to catch back up, because what I did see was amazing. Costner just fits, perfectly in that world. That's like the mold of what you want him to be in. And Yellowstone's popularity, not just the seeing it everywhere. And I think there was it Cheez-Its or something? I saw something in the store recently that had the Yellowstone logo. And I'm like, what? They have a partnership with crackers? That's insane.
They have a line of seasoning. I actually literally yesterday I bought a chuck roast and I got this Yellowstone branded seasoning from it at Kroger.
That's insane.
So, yeah. People who watched season 5 in prime time didn't know that Kevin Costner wasn't coming back.
Uh-huh.
So I, having, caught up recently, knew I was watching it with a magnifying glass, knowing that he wasn't going to come back. And it was funny too, because I even asked my mom a week or 2 ago. I was like, Kevin Costner is in all the promotional TV spots and stuff. What are they doing?
What?
Yeah. So I was like, because I hadn't caught up until that point. But I was like, what are they doing? Are they just showing clips and scenes and stuff that I haven't seen yet? But it's recycled material. So anyway, I'm watching part 1 knowing that he's not going to be in it. So what I'll say is his absence is set up to the point where they can address it. It's jarring because I don't think they knew that they just wouldn't have him at all. So it is jarring, but it makes sense to the story.
Okay.
And I think it helps if you honestly just think of it like Succession, where it's
gotcha.
The spontaneity and the abruptness of the situation is just supposed to up the stakes and resemble real life. It's just something that you can't account for.
Yeah.
But again, it's set up in the show. So once you just get over the fact that, they had to do something to make it make sense, I actually think it's gonna be okay.
That makes me
So
feel better. That was a big thing because I mean, obviously he's just from what I've seen, my favorite character in the show, and so I'm like, if they just throw him out with the wolves, is it going to be? But that gives me a little confidence. I watched a Netflix series a couple weeks ago called Territory, and it was very similar to Yellowstone, and that just shows you the impact of Yellowstone. All the
yeah,
comments are like, "This is the Australian Yellowstone. It's not going to live up to Yellowstone," and I'm like, dude. We're already holding Yellowstone to that standard, like, and it's still going. So
yeah.
that is a monument in itself. And yeah, I feel like I got to catch up now because that gives me confidence.
Yeah, Yellowstone just has characters that they don't really have much to like. They don't know what to do with, right? Like a lot of the guys that like live in the bunkhouse, they're again that we're just like kind of chilling with people. There's a character that just comes back, and you think it's going to add this like depth and layer to the story, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, like for an episode or two, it does, and then this guy's just like in the show in the background.
Mm.
So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, sure, he's just on the show again, but it doesn't matter at all. So there's like times when they don't know what to do with characters, but at the same time too, it's just like it's just part of it. There's
Yeah.
just like people in the background, and sometimes we just like hang out with them for a little while, and it just shows a different aspect of the ranch and stuff. But and I do feel a lot of the main characters are missing through a few episodes, but ultimately it's just a vibe. And I
Yeah.
remember there's a scene, I don't even know how to describe necessarily what happened, but there's a scene in like episode or season 1 or 2 where out of nowhere there's just like this ridiculous situation where I think Rip just like stumbles upon like an Asian couple that's like in peril in the forest, and then they end up dying or something. Like it's just so like it's so ridiculous, and it has nothing to do with the episode at all. It's just he's in the forest, and all of a sudden there's like this Asian couple who's like dangling off a cliff, and then I think they end up dying, and it just has nothing to do with the show. So when I was watching Yellowstone, for the first time a couple of years ago, I remember thinking like, what the hell is this? Like, why is this the popular show?
Yeah.
But I get it.
Mm.
I get it. So I'm excited to see how the show ends. I'm not gonna lie. I think it will disappoint. And I think like if you have a conversation about Yellowstone with like your parents or with like,
Mm-hmm.
normies around you, they're gonna be disappointed that Kevin Costner isn't there. Like,
Of course.
how are they gonna do the show? He's the main character. You're
Yeah.
gonna get the people that feel that way. But again, I was looking at it like I thought they were gonna have to address it when there was no like lead in to but there is. So I think honestly I could be convinced that they were going to make this move regardless.
Mm.
But it's just a matter of like I just don't think they knew that they wouldn't have him at all. Is really so I could be convinced that it was part of the plan all along, to be honest. But it's awesome. So, and I'm even more excited to check out Lioness, the other
Yeah.
Taylor Sheridan, because like I
I love
didn't
Taylor Sheridan.
realize that it's a stacked cast with like
Uh-huh.
Nicole Kidman, and
Uh-huh.
so anyway, obviously Zoe Saldana. So I'm kind of interested in watching that show too, and then obviously like the Harrison Ford, I think that was 1923. That was okay.
Uh-huh.
The Yellowstone prequel, it was all right. What I saw of 1888 or 1898, whatever it is with Tim McGraw, that prequel was better. I have not finished either one, but I definitely will once Yellowstone is over.
Yeah, it's quite a few spin-offs. And I've been wondering lately, where is Taylor Sheridan's impact in the movie space? Because he did that trio of movies that was amazing, and then that one that wasn't as good. But he's been in the TV space, man, and feels like he just works. Like that just works for him, even with the spin-offs, even with, I guess, I didn't even know he was behind Lioness, so that's cool. I saw a clip with Zoe Saldana and Lioness when she's like fighting another commander. It looked great. Like it looked really, really good. And so I also saw the new Zoe Saldana movie, Amelia Perez, on Netflix. I know
Okay, yeah.
I sent you that, and I was kind of excited for it because I had heard it was a big Oscar movie, and it is a big Oscar movie, and it has Selena Gomez, and I didn't like it.
Oh man, that's disappointing.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to like it. I thought it would be because it's a musical. It's I believe it's a French film that takes place in Mexico. Because
you conveniently left all of these like adjectives out.
Yeah,
you didn't. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch this.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I didn't know. I knew there was music in it when I texted you. Because I really wanted you to watch it. I was like, man, if Ryan watches this and he likes it, then we're gonna have a party. He's gonna be so happy. But I didn't know it was a full-on musical when I texted you that. And so when I started watching this, I got 10 minutes in. I'm like, I really hope Ryan is watching this because he's going to hate me for it. But I'm glad you didn't because you would have wasted your time. It's one of those where you can really appreciate the performances. Selena Gomez is awesome. Selena Gomez and Saldana, they actually speak Spanish throughout most of the movie, which was really cool. It's nice seeing them not do the thing that they're always doing. So that kind of gets lame after a while. But it's just an awkward movie because it deals with our main character played by Carla Sofia Gascon. I had to look up the name. Carla Sofia Gascon. She transitions from a male in the beginning of the film. She's a fearsome cartel leader to a female in the movie. And Zoe Saldana's character is kind of the one that's championing that. And in theory, that could work really well. You could make it emotional. You could do a lot of things, but it tries to play it comedically, and then it gets really emotional, and then there's some action sequences with the cartel, and then there's some musical sequences that don't feel like they should be in the same movie, and it is one of the most all-over-the-place films I have seen in years. It is. There are 17 genres in this movie, and so I was like, because it won awards at the Cannes Film Festival, and it's actually got a good score on a lot of these platforms. And so I was really excited for it, man. But it was all over the place. And it never found its footing. It never found its lane. And so I came away really disappointed. Now, I brought it up because of Zoe Saldana. She was incredible. It was so cool to see her not be in a big blockbuster, big budget, movie. She was incredible. But man, the movie itself, whatever the opposite of airtight is for a movie, it was the opposite of that because it was all over the place.
Loose and sloppy.
Yeah,
I'm uncomfortable.
That was my nickname in high school.
Right. Yeah. I look, 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
this is one of those movies that, like, if I had watched this movie, I would have probably just been pissed because I'm just like, quit. Why is this at 80%? This sucks. I'm a big Selena Gomez guy. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I wish I wanted to watch this movie because she's dope. But I think Zoe Saldana is maybe one of the most underrated actresses.
Agree. Yeah.
Honestly, she's wonderful. She's just in a lot of movies that overshadow her. I mean, she makes them all better, but they're such like big titles, they overshadow what she's doing. So yeah. Anyway, there was another movie I was going to bring up that Heretic. I feel like Heretic for the last couple of months I've been hearing Heretic this, Heretic that, and I'm starting to see people doubt it and talk shit about it.
Interesting.
And it's sitting at 92% with 217 reviews. I didn't realize this. So it's this movie that is acclaimed, but people are ragging on it on Letterboxd. I think some of the Letterboxd heads that I follow have all given it like 3 and below. So have you been picking up on this?
I have. I've seen some people hating on the movie. I dug it. I thought it was really enjoyable. Okay. The first 2 acts are awesome. You literally just sit with Hugh Grant while he goes on these religious rants. It's phenomenal. And the 2 girls are amazing. Their chemistry or lack thereof, and the fact that it's just a small scale setting and they're in one location, and it's a horror movie, but you're on the edge of your seat because you don't know what this guy's going to do to these 2 girls.
Yeah.
Admittedly, gets a little out there in the third act. Do you remember the end of Don't Breathe?
Absolutely.
It's not like that, but it's out there like that. I felt at the end of this movie like I felt at the end of Don't Breathe. Like, it's such a grounded movie. It's such this, such that. And then you get to the end, it's like, oh, they're going a little overboard here. But I didn't hate it because of what it did for our characters. And I didn't hate it because it still kept that intensity. I was a little bummed out because the simplicity of the first two acts was great. But I dug the movie, man. I really did. I genuinely think if this was a movie that was a little more confident in itself, which it's got great scores, I don't know if it's going to run any campaigns. I think Hugh Grant should be pushed for Best Supporting Actor. I really do. He's that good. He's that good, man.
Yeah.
He does a Jar Jar Binks impression in here. It's phenomenal. It's outstanding.
What?
It might just be the scene of the year.
Okay. Wonderful. Look, you comparing it to Don't Breathe makes me more excited, to be honest.
Cool. There we go.
So,
yeah.
Good.
Two great
I'll
movies.
quit paying attention to Matt Neglia or whatever his name is.
Get him out of here. Love you, Matt. Get out of here.
I don't even know if that's somebody I've seen rate the movie. I'm just thinking about people I follow. Anyway, cool. Yeah, there's... I really just care about Gladiator 2. Like, I honestly don't know what other movies come out this year after Gladiator 2. No clue.
Well, there's one in theaters right now that I really wanted you to see, and you refused to see it, Ryan.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know? Well, it's we loved the trailer. We watched the trailer together. As soon as Chris Evans popped up, we were both pretty floored.
Oh God!
By the yeah, man. I mean, what a trailer! The movie capitalized. It was great. This may just be the Christmas movie of the weekend. Yeah, if you're going to see a Christmas movie in theaters this weekend, go see Red One. I mean, it may just be the best Christmas movie in theaters this weekend.
I don't really know what else there is to say about this, because before this movie came out, it just reinforces, just like so many other movies have, reinforces Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is just in awful movies.
Did you see what he said about Oppenheimer?
Yeah, and I wish actors had some like self-awareness. Like, it's so stupid. He is such a smart guy to say something so dumb. Like, I think it's a true statement. I think he was watching Oppenheimer in IMAX in production on Red One, knowing that he was going to film Red One in IMAX. So it's like, of course, he's like, oh, I can't wait to see I don't know if it's his first movie in IMAX or what the significance of it was. Like, who gives a shit? But the idea that Red One needs to be in IMAX is preposterous, first of all. And like, it just, I don't know. It's just something that he should have known people would just like pick apart and rail against, because it's like one of those things that is just so absurdly stupid when you just when you look at the reception of the movie, and it's just like, oh, like, I feel like Vin Diesel does the same shit where he says that his movies deserve Oscars, and like, well, I think Tyrese should have been nominated for Fast 9. You know, it's just like, these guys are morons. And it's like, they're trying to sell their shit, and I get it, but I guess I'm just annoyed and over it, because I don't think they should have made the movies in the first place. So it's like, you made the movie, you star in it, now you have to like promote it. I want actors to have shame. That's what I want. I want actors to have shame. Chris Evans should be ashamed of himself.
Boy.
The Rock should be ashamed of himself. The only person that doesn't really deserve any hate or whatever is J.K. Simmons. Like,
sure,
J.K. Simmons, I get it. I get why you picked the role. You're probably having fun. you're amazing no matter what, but I'm tired of Chris Evans and I'm tired of The Rock.
I hate that. I hate that because we literally, was it our second episode? Maybe it was our first episode. We discussed heavily that Chris Evans just needs new management. Like he needs a new agent. Yeah. He needs new people behind him because these roles are ridiculous. These roles are insane. This is the guy that was working with Bong Joon-ho, and he was showcasing all the talent that he has for a while. And it just feels like ever since Captain America was done with, he's just taken these stupid blockbuster roles. And he was having fun in Deadpool, but even then it's like, I want to see this guy do what he can do. I want to see this guy in Knives Out. You know what I mean? Like that's an example of Chris Evans showing us another side, similar character, but another side of what he can do. Now take that a step further. Let's go Robert Downey Jr. and Oppenheimer. Let's go. I mean, God bless America. Tom Holland is working with Christopher Nolan. Like Tom Holland is doing what RDJ did. Chris, buddy, can we do something here? Because I know you're super talented. And I'm watching him in this movie and I'm like, man, he makes a Wonder Woman joke at one point. I'm just like, dude, like this is the lowest point of my life watching you. Like it's just so low. And the movie, I'll give it a little bit. Okay. I know we're hating on it. It's not a disaster. I've seen worse movies. What it is boring. It's dull. I've seen this. I've seen every action blockbuster. I've seen every Christmas movie do this before. And it's like, I almost wish it was as bad as that first trailer, because then I would remember it. You know what I mean? I will not ever remember this. Maybe if I watched it when I was 6, I would remember it, but I'm a almost 30-year-old man. Like this is not something that's going to work for me. So I'm glad some families are enjoying it. But when you see a character that you're supposed to remember for the character and all you can remember 3 days later is that was The Rock and Chris Evans. And all I will remember about this movie a year from now is that Rock and Chris Evans Christmas movie. Like that's how I will remember. That's not good. That's not what you want. And so just a testament to where they are in their careers. And I hope it gets better, man. I really do.
I just don't understand why. I don't get why The Rock wants to be in these types of movies.
He's better than that. And I know it doesn't seem like he's better than that, but there is something in there to where he doesn't need to keep playing himself. Even Black Adam. He just played The Rock. That's what he was, just The Rock is Black Adam. What I'm excited for is this A24 wrestling movie. I'm excited because what my hope is that he doesn't do the things that we know The Rock to be doing right now. My hope is he comes out swinging and acts like a different person, because I haven't seen him act like a different person in 10 years. I just want something different.
It's crazy that his best movie is his first movie. He's never topped The Rundown.
The Rundown. Yeah, The Rundown. That's a great one. It's a great movie. Yeah.
Walking Tall. I would rather watch Walking Tall than every movie he's made since. And Walking Tall isn't good.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that duo, though.
Yeah. So, anyway, I just don't understand.
Disappointing. Dude, even Fast 5, which is the best Fast and Furious movie. I don't really like many of the others. He was a little different than what we're used to seeing. You know what I mean? Like he was giving a villainous, brooding, cool performance. But it feels like once he did Fast 5, it's just like, I'm going to play a different version of this, except never be a villain again, for every film. Like Jumanji and Skyscraper and whatever, the Jungle Cruise. Like, it's all the same character. And I know he's better than that. I just know it.
Yeah, he obviously enhances Fast 5.
He does.
Fast 5 is probably the best movie he's been a part of. I don't necessarily group it when I said The Rundown is his, but I'm talking about the Rock movies. Whereas Fast 5 isn't a Rock movie. But,
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, the best movies that he's been in are Fast 5 and The Rundown, easily. I guess throw in Moana, but
yeah.
And Chris Evans, we talked about that already, but he used to be excuse me, he used to be our favorite Chris.
Yeah, man, for a while.
So.
And now he's just, but I feel like some of these guys, man, you do these, some actors say this, do a paycheck, then do a one for you, one for them, one for you. And I saw someone come out against that recently. Who was it? I can't remember who it was, but they said, I do all of them for me. I think it might have been Colin Farrell. It was in an interview for the Penguin. He said, I don't do one for them, one for me. He said, I do them all for me. They are all for me. Some I may get a bigger paycheck, but they're all for me. And you can see that in his career. You can, and that reflects that he's in some blockbusters. Most of the time they're good. He's with all these great directors. It's all for him. And I think that there's something about that. When you get to that level and you can make money on these smaller movies, there's something beautiful about that. And I think Colin Farrell's a great example of that.
What? What? Yeah. What a great segue into the Penguin. We've really been, swimming in and out of all these topics today.
Yeah. We've had a lot to catch up on, man. It's been a cram-packed 2 weeks. It's been insane.
Yeah. I watched the Penguin finale yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So, I couldn't help but just, I don't know. I didn't want to be this way, but I couldn't help but think about how many times we've done this exact thing with Marvel television. And this just is so much better. It just comes in and just says, here, this is how you do it, Marvel. And I hate being like that. And it's the first thing that I brought up when talking about the show. But I couldn't help it because I was just so satisfied. And I thought the direction, the acting, the storytelling, I thought it was so good. And it was only 8 episodes. And I'm like, look, we do this all the time. And it just sucks to feel like this. Because different brands and different shows, different franchises, they can be different. And so it's not like I want the crime noir Sopranos version of a Marvel show. But the idea that this fits in with prestige television. This has one of the greatest actors playing one of the greatest comic book roles. It feels like a lived-in world. It feels like it belongs in the Batman franchise while also being a great addition to HBO Max. Like all of these things that we can do with the Penguin, and I'm sure we'll explore in this conversation. It's like this is what we've been asking for all along. But when we were asking for it, I don't think we had a gold standard, or we didn't have an example to reference until now. It's like the Penguin is just like the show we've been waiting for to say, yeah, this is how it's done. Yeah. We could a little with like Daredevil and some of those Netflix Marvel shows, but when the Penguin comes out, again, the Daredevil shows didn't have direct ties to the movies. So yeah, it was easy for us to be like, hey, why can't Moon Knight be more like Daredevil? We could do that, but it's such it's such a lateral move now with the Penguin and what we've been doing with Marvel Disney Plus. So anyway, the Penguin is just the gold standard of superhero television as it connects to a larger, wider universe on film and cinema. And anyway, it wins the streaming war. Whatever conversation we're about to have, the Penguin just succeeds on every level.
I completely agree. I'm actually, my only real complaint about the show is not even a complaint. My only complaint is, why, when this explosion happened, did Batman not show up? Why, when all these shootouts were going down, you got the GCPD, but where's Batman? But that can be explained. That's not because we've had that issue with the Avengers stuff before, but I feel like it's a little
Yeah.
less of an issue here. When I look at how this show is structured, how it's written, how its characters were developed, how not only, okay, maybe Batman doesn't show up, but it ties in so beautifully into the world of the Batman. And it expands this world on a level that, kind of reminds me of the Arkham Asylum Batman video games. Like, these are some of the greatest stories we've ever seen from Batman. I don't care if it's a video game. And I've always wanted something that just firmly fits in that crime, underground, gritty genre. And the Batman had elements of that for sure with Falcone. But man, this just took it to another level. And how often do you get to say that and tie it into a character that you've loved your whole life, that has a brilliant first movie in place, that has its own universe? It's still grounded, which is insane to even say at this point, because we've had the Penguin, we showed the Joker, like somehow all of that, and it's still grounded. And you are now, there's a little piece connecting the first two movies that just whets that palate just enough that I think is going to get us to that next film. And so it's just cool. I mean, it's just really cool. And they've talked numerous times about doing other spinoffs. I want other spinoffs, but at the same time, I don't want to overdo this. You know what I mean? Because if you start to beat the dead horse too much, then it loses its flavor. Now, if they come up with a passion project, and I know that Joker rumor was floating around, I think that was shut down by James Gunn, but if they come up with a passion project to tie maybe 2 and 3 together beautifully, or something focused more on the GCPD, that would be fine. But man, to deliver the Penguin like they did, for Colin Farrell to come in, prove that once again this is a project for him, not just for the money, because the guy's got to put on the suit every single day, so he's passionate about it, and give an Emmy worthy performance, and to bring us a somewhat new character in Sophia that, and I know I said this a couple weeks ago when we talked about it originally, that I think should be a new staple in the world of Batman, okay? And for her to be just as interesting as the Penguin, that's like HBO show Game of Thrones Succession level impressive to deliver two top tier characters like that. And so I am so glad they made this an HBO original, because it fits. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb with all the other HBO shows. It fits, and it feels like something we would normally watch without it being a superhero project.
Yeah, the other thing too, it's like, it feels like, whether it's true or not, it feels like Matt Reeves and company knew exactly what the show was when they made the Batman.
Yeah.
Like, it fits in so well. Now, the show's been in production for forever. Mm-hmm. The Batman was filmed during COVID, so there's been a lot of time since Matt Reeves started on the Batman to just kind of in the back of his mind be thinking about how he could. But it honestly feels like the idea for the Penguin show was always there, while it just fits. It doesn't feel like it's like an add-on thing that we kind of stumbled upon like Agatha All Along did. Mm-hmm. It feels like this is gonna go straight into the Batman Part 2. Whether the Batman Part 2 is focused on the character of Penguin or not, but it just seems like it's all thought out.
Yeah.
And I love that. I didn't always feel that way when it came to the Marvel Netflix shows. I mean, I think that they obviously fit in, and they had Rosario Dawson's character coming in and out of the shows, but it's like, I don't think they thought real well and real hard, because they had a lot of different showrunners coming in and being like, this is going to be my take on Luke Cage, this is going to be my take on Iron Fist. It still seemed disjointed, even though they all came together. But I just think it's all in sync with this, and I'm hoping that DCU feels like this.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. So time will tell, because then it's just like DC's just gonna compete with itself, because it's gonna leave Marvel in the dust. But
well, isn't the Lantern show? I believe is that an HBO original? I think it is, right? The Green Lantern.
I don't
show.
know. I would assume it is.
Yeah. Which is,
but I don't know.
I mean, if you, they're coming back to Earth to solve a what is described as a more grounded crime. Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. Like, if you think about that, and yeah, it's outlandish, it's Green Lantern, but that's almost like kind of the gritty crime element that the Penguin has. And so if they keep that flavor, and I know it's DCU, it's going to be more comic booky, obviously, but if they keep that flavor and that, I feel like this is something that could happen, as opposed to sometimes Marvel just goes so far overboard and it gets so ridiculous. Man, I think James Gunn going over to that universe and doing his own thing is going to pay off. But also, you're going to have DC continue to elevate itself above Marvel. And I know Marvel had a good year. I get that. But man, I am so much more excited for DC. Well, yeah, I mean, Deadpool did well. X-Men 97 was great. I mean, Agatha was probably the only, which I haven't even finished it, so I guess I can't say. But they had a good year. But here's why they had a good year, Ryan. They scaled back. They had a good year because they scaled back, and they only delivered
Echo was
quality.
this year.
Ah, shit, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Echo was this year. Jeez. Well, that's 2 for 4, I guess. But they scaled back, man. And that's when you start to focus on quality instead of quantity, you get that. And so far, and I know DCUs, they're going to have a lot of stuff coming out, but these DC projects have been just quality after quality. And it feels like what James Gunn is working on right now with Superman and even Peacemaker season 2, like these are
this is outside of Joker Folia. Outside of Joker Folia do though.
Like, that's true. That's true. But you can.
I think everybody is unanimously writing that off.
Yes, yes, and that's the beautiful thing about it. You can almost like James Gunn didn't go out and promote Joker Folia do, even like he did The Flash. Which, but these projects, you can feel like they're pushing Todd Phillips out the door and saying, "All right, there's the door. See you later. Let's start over." And they're starting over, and that's exciting. That's something to look forward to as a comic book fan.
This is a little off track, but I don't want to forget to mention this.
Sure.
The Brave New World trailer, the latest trailer came out since we've last spoken. Mm-hmm. I think that movie looks terrible.
Really?
I think it looks bad. It looks bad.
Visually. Yes.
Yeah. I think it looks like hot trash, honestly. It might be one of the worst looking Marvel movies.
Now, I think the trailer itself is put together well. And the storyline is more intriguing than I expected. But I'm with you visually. I think visually, the movie looks bad, and I think anytime we cut to these outside CGI-heavy sequences, it looks almost unfinished. And Red Hulk. Yeah. Looks terrible. I hate to say that because I love Red Hulk, but he looks absolutely terrible in the daylight.
Yeah, it's not like I'm new to this. I'm not doing the thing where it's like, this movie looks like shit. Well, they're still working on visual effects, so they don't have all the I know that that's how it works.
Sure.
I'm still telling you, I think it visually looks terrible.
But even like the cinematography is not interesting. You know what I mean? Like it's that element too that they can't fix.
Yeah, it looks like Disney Plus. It's it just doesn't seem to fit. What's his name? Adam Hlavik or Hlavik.
Yeah.
Who used to do what was that what was that show called that he did with Hector Navarro? Anyway, so he posted like a higher bit rate of the trailer, and you can see that there's like more noise, more grain, more detail.
All right.
So he posted a better I don't know how he did that, but he posted a better version of the trailer than was released by Marvel. And so I can see that there's a little bit more texture to the cinematography, but I still think that it just I don't like the look of it right now. So
well, they got I believe they got the director or the showrunner, executive producer of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and they forgot to tell him this wasn't a TV show. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. They forgot to tell him it wasn't a Disney Plus show because that's what it looks like.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was disappointed with that trailer, to be honest,
Okay.
and that's why I felt like picking on Marvel today, because the only way I'm gonna get over Marvel is if they release the Daredevil trailer. Like, I'll forget about how bad Marvel has been the last few years if I get that Daredevil trailer. So anyway, back to this topic. Oh, I guess another thing too. It's like these were full hour-long episodes, and it's just like, why aren't we doing this over there? Why isn't the other side of the aisle doing this? It's unacceptable. But anyway, so to criticize the Penguin slightly, I do think having another episode or two, it would have benefited.
Sure.
To be honest, because I do think it kind of it wraps up pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that happens in the last couple of episodes, and like the first few episodes had a different pacing to it. They're a little bit more relaxed. So I wish it was more consistent throughout.
Sure.
I thought the episode 4 that focuses on Sophia, I thought that was a wonderful episode. As I think everybody agrees. I don't think they put as much care into her character in the final 2 episodes.
Sure.
It's a lot about just following Penguin through how he's going to figure out, and I get it. It is his show, but it's almost like the treatment of the character, it didn't live up to. If you take her episode as like setup and is like, hey, this is an investment in what this character is ultimately going to do and what she's going to become. I don't know if I feel fully satisfied with that, but I'm not taking anything away with how intrigued I was by her character, how great Kristen Milioti did in the role. Like, I think I love that she's kind of connected to the Falcons still. Like, there's a little tag at the end when, Selena reaches out to her, and it's like, oh, she could actually be a character that shows up in the movies as well. Like, I love that. I like the idea of, like, she doesn't just live in this show. She can be utilized elsewhere. So that's fun too.
Yeah, she's Palm Springs was, for me, before this, I was like, she's got the comedic timing down. She's hilarious. She's also like, there's like an attractiveness to her. I'm like, I think it's just because her personality shines through in all these projects. And then you see her in this show. Like, who is that? Who is that? That's not I don't know her from anything. She's transformed into this just badass crime boss that takes that mantle, man, and runs with it. Uses what's his name as a pawn. She's building him up like, oh, you're my new right-hand guy, yada, yada, yada. And then gets him at the table and just shoots him right in the head. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. Holy shit. She's a badass, man. And, a little less so as the show went on. I loved what she did with Penguin's mom. And you had that scene where his mom finally admits that, she knows everything that went down about the kids and whatnot. And so, but for her to get her to that point, to be just this sinister character behind it all is really cool. And so I do feel like we're going to see her in the Batman. I think that little Selena tease is something that, even if it's just Batman going and interrogating her for a few minutes, even if it's just a scene, I think that's important to keep her around. You have a character like that, you've got to utilize that. And so I'm excited to see her.
Catwoman.
Absolutely.
Or if it's Catwoman, just like meeting her and having like a little chat in a cafe or something,
That'd be great. I mean, to see those two interact on screen, two badass characters like that, would be incredible. And so, yeah, man, I'd love to see her float over. But just everything she does in those last few episodes, I wish we would have got more time with her personally, but as an antagonist towards the Penguin, who is also an antagonist, and we'll talk about that. Oh boy.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
I also expected a little bit more out of Julian Rush. Like, he was made to be this like important character in that episode, and then he's just not really.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah.
So, there was something else I was going to bring up too. I don't remember. But anyway, let's talk about Colin Farrell a little bit. You know, he said that he's willing to come back for a season 2. So I think they're doing the thing where they're just making sure that I think Reeves even spoke about it. Like they want to make sure that they actually have a story and not just doing it because season 1 is successful, which is great to hear. I think he's a smart dude. So if I don't know, maybe the series that falls between part 2 and part 3 of the Batman, if it should be like a GCPD thing that strings everything along, you know, they've been talking about that. It's been rumored, the Arkham, whatever it is. I feel like he's just going to make the best story within the universe and not just do it for the sake of doing it. So right now, I kind of can't imagine it because season 1 of the Penguin was just so kind of dependent on where he was post the Batman. So I wouldn't even know what the Penguin season. I don't know how to get excited for it unless I see what he does in the Batman 2, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I almost like the idea of let's just put a season of the Penguin in between every movie. You know what I mean? Let's just
I can see that.
Depending on what happens to him at the end of the Batman Part 2, maybe he's at the tippity top still. Maybe he's no longer at the top. I know that would kind of be repetitive getting him back to the top, but I could spin 8 more episodes with this guy. I really could.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't veto it. I think it's hard for me to wrap my head around it because I don't think he's going to be imperative in the Batman Part 2.
No, I don't either.
We'll see, but I don't know. And it'd be cool if like 2 seasons of the show led up to him being the ultimate baddie in part 3, but I think they're saving Joker for that. So
it almost feels like, you know, at the beginning of The Dark Knight when the Scarecrow has his team of guys and then Batman takes him down immediately. It almost feels like Penguin might be that guy. And I don't want him to be that because he's worked his way up, but it almost feels like that's going to kind of be the case.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of actually what I was thinking about in regards to Sophia. I thought that Sophia could, like, and you kind of touched on that too, that there could be like an interrogation scene where he goes to talk with her. You know, there was the deleted scene where Batman visits Joker to get some insight as to how to, you know, catch the Riddler, so they could do something like that and actually release it in the Batman Part 2. You know, maybe Batman's trying to find the Penguin for some reason and he has to go talk to Sophia about it, or
that'd be great.
Or Batman's like trying to figure out what goes into the drug that she was developing or something like that. So
Batman's like, hey, I was sleeping this whole time while all this was going down. Can you tell me where the Penguin was? Taking a long nap.
I get that criticism, but I'm also just like, are we done with that criticism? I think we've all been trained to just accept, like when we watch certain stories, we just don't have to have the other characters pop in. Like there's always going to be, why didn't Thor show up? Why didn't the Avengers show up? So we've been trained to just accept it. We'll always ask it, but we've been trained to. So I think it annoyed me more so that like Gordon wasn't at the end, you know, at the very last scene of the show. Almost, I'm just like, why is that the dude with the shitty voice and not Gordon? So I don't know.
Although I do like that guy with the shitty voice. There's something about every time he's on screen, I'm like, that guy. He's pure Gotham.
He's like so specific that he's real. It's just like, that is that cop. Yeah.
I like that. You know, I think usually with a show like this, you get which it escalated a lot in the episode before, but I thought this finale did a good job of kind of maintaining that consistency. I just watched the middle part of Cobra Kai, where the episode before was the big one, and then the episode after is kind of like the fallout type stuff. And I feel like shows do that all the time. Well, in this show, I mean, yeah, episode 9's huge, or episode 7 is huge, but you open up and it's him tied to a chair looking at his mom, and that whole thing goes down, and then you get the murder at the end. And so I'm like, man, there was the stakes were high the whole time in the Penguin once they hit their stride. I think episode 4 was around when that momentum picked up. But you also have to have those episodes establishing these characters too. And so I just thought it did a nice job of escalating until those final 2 episodes, and you get a lot of payoff, which was nice.
I also appreciate the quality of the visual effects was to the standard of the Batman.
For sure.
You know, when they replicated the flood in the second or third episode, they replicated the flooding scene when we learn about what's-his-face's family getting killed, the explosion that takes place above the abandoned train stations, like all of that, it looked like what would be in the movie. You know, we could talk about how the show was missing Greg Fraser. Of course, it obviously was. It wasn't as dirty looking. It wasn't as grimy. It wasn't as good looking. But I thought the visual effects held up. And so that worked. So it was, again, a pretty seamless transition from the Batman to this. Really impressive. And I don't know. It's like maybe Colin Farrell's makeup could have been slightly worse, and we'd be like, oh, that sucks. It doesn't look as good here as it does in the movie. But it does. It's probably better in the show than it was in the movie. So, bravo.
I'll have to reach out to John and see if because I saw he tweeted the other day, I've been walking around like the Penguin and talking like the Penguin all day. I'm like, did he start to like the show? Because he didn't like the show at first. Did he start to like it? I hope so. Yeah. I hope he came around on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to assume that people who are listening to this have watched the show. So let's just talk about that big moment for a minute.
Yep.
Absolutely shocked, floored. That character, that actor, I wasn't buying it entirely. He grew on me as the show went on, and obviously it helped to have his backstory. I loved his involvement during the scene in the club when he kind of has like PTSD. He's trying to deal all the drugs on the dance floor. Like I thought all that stuff worked really well.
Yeah.
But it's not like he was like my favorite character or anything. So, I grew to appreciate him, but at the same time, like, totally shocked and like totally behind the idea of that the Penguin kills him in that moment.
You know, I thought the whole time, the whole show, he was going to bite the dust. And then I'm watching the finale and I'm like, maybe he makes it out. You know, they do where they fake me out so good. Everything's over with. Sophia's taken away. It's over. Mom's laying in a bed somewhere. Like, we're done. And we get this last conversation with Oz and Vic. And in that moment, you know, I'm thinking, and this was a month ago when I've held on to this for so long, dude. Oh my God. I just wanted to tell you the second you watched episode 1. But in that moment, I'm like, man, this is tender. And it's a look, and I went back and I watched the finale again. It's a look that Oz gives Vic when he says the word family. He brings up family. And Oz just kind of pauses, and you just see that disdain that, oh, man, like, why'd you have to say that? Because you got me thinking now. And it's just that, shit. He's got to do what he's got to do. And the whole, God, dude, it's brilliant. The whole show, they've built up Oz's family, and they've built up Vic's decision-making, and they've built up Vic as this guy who could have made a decision at any time to go away. I mean, he could have went off with the girl. All he had to do was say no and run off with the girl. But he stayed there, and is in his definition of getting his head on straight, getting his life in track was, you are now important. You are now special. You are now a part of this. and you can be this guy for Oz. He never left, and that was ultimately his demise. And dude, like, I got chills talking about that. Just like what a way to handle both of those characters, and beautiful trajectory for both of them, man. Like, I can't wait. My wife, she hasn't watched this show yet. I'm going to be sitting in anticipation for 8 episodes when we watch it together, because I'm going to be like, all building up to that moment. It's just awesome, dude. I love shows that deliver like that, man.
Well, he was like, he reminded me of a character that I would kind of be like irritated with in a Marvel Netflix show.
Sure, could have been the comedic
and
relief.
And a character that I like didn't actually buy, like if we saw them in any other context. So I'm watching Vic in the Penguin, and I'm like, yeah, this works for this show. I appreciate it episode to episode, but it's like he would have been the part that didn't mesh so well with the Batman Part 2. Like, it's like, what is his place? And he's just going to be like this random character that I don't know. There's something about it that I just like, I didn't need. And so the idea that we just use him as a springboard to, I think, finally give the Penguin an actual like villain turn.
Yeah.
Like, we have the context of the Penguin being a Batman villain, right? But when we see him in the first movie, he is, he's like he runs a club. He runs the club. He works for the big boss. He runs drugs, and there's an epic chase scene. But like, we leave the Penguin, he's kind of like a comedic presence. You don't know the difference between L and Law. Like, he's kind of just like an enjoyable character, but he isn't the villain yet. So that's his moment. That's his turn, when he just goes from being like this guy who's trying to take advantage of this power vacuum and trying to make something of himself. And he has a relationship with his mom, or he has an empathetic relationship because of, how his mom treats him and thinks of him and stuff. And it's like, no, that was his villain turn.
Yeah.
And so I think that was super important. And I'm obviously not complaining that it was at the expense of losing a character like Vic, but I thought it was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, how do you like a guy after that? He's so likable.
Yeah.
Throughout that entire show, but he's got to be the villain. You've got to find a way to make him unlikable. And as much as he does to get you on board, as Weasley as he is, you still kind of like him. You're not going to like him after that. You're just not. That's the way it goes, man. And so that's like, whoever thought of that in the writer's room, kudos, because that's the way to turn somebody into a villain, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really effective. It's chilling. Bone chilling.
And whenever you go back and watch that episode again, Ryan, let me know. But just that look, and I was looking for something, but that look that Oz gives him when he says family, I'm like, that's it. I should have caught that the first time. I should have caught that. Yeah. And it was awesome. Just great acting too, performance wise, by Colin Farrell. Jeez.
How sick was that shot, by the way, with Sophia looking out on the water, and you see like the lights in the distance are all, and then the spotlight hits her. That shot was sick. Well done.
Yeah, well done, man. Again, we're not talking the Batman here, but for a TV show, for even for an HBO show, there were some shots of these characters where I'm like, holy smokes, that looks phenomenal. Yeah, that's probably the shot of the show, to be honest with you.
And another thing too, I was surprised, so in the scene where Sophia puts a bounty on the Penguin, and the leader of the Triads, his like number 2 guy, when he calls Vic and lets Vic know that Sophia put a hit out or a bounty on the Penguin, and hey, we got to meet up. I thought that was just gonna be that character getting to the Penguin first.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, because this earlier in the episode they established like that guy has a relationship with Vic, or at least they speak to each other. And I thought that the show made it a point to have these two characters interact. Let's see, they were talking when everybody was meeting up outside of the explosion site underneath that bridge or whatever in the daytime, and so those two characters interacted. So I'm like, so the Asian guy is just going to use that to his benefit, and Vic is going to lead him right to the Penguin, but they don't do that. So I'm glad.
Yeah,
they subverted expectation with that. So
they did that. It became multiple times.
It became that all of the underbosses wanted to take over, as just like the Penguin. So
they're playing chess, man. They're playing chess, not checkers. It's like every move I thought they would make, they kind of did something a little different. And so this show was always 2 steps ahead, which is for a superhero show. That's nice. It's a nice change of pace.
Also, like the idea of like in the show, they just got rid of the Falcons and the Maronis. Like they're just confident. Like, we don't need these characters ever again. Ooh. Like, we can use Sophia. Maybe they can introduce another crime family or whatever. But it's like, they just don't exist anymore.
That's big. So, well, it is funny though. They've almost established. They've established, because the other Batman we've seen on the big screen, they have Falcons and Maronis. I feel like now it is Sophia and Penguin. I feel like those are going to be the next. And so maybe that's how they use Penguin. Maybe they use him like they used Maroni Maroni in The Dark Knight. Like, keep going back to him. He's there. He lingers, that kind of thing. And so if he's that guy now, count me in. I think that's a great way to use him.
Yeah. You got anything else?
No, man, that's it. My light died. Sorry, I went from happy to sad, but no, man, I think it's been a packed couple of weeks. Watched a lot of movies, a lot of shows, but definitely going back and watching that finale of Penguin again was probably still one of the best things I've seen in a while. So it was fun to talk about it.
Do you have anything else coming up other than Gladiator 2? Anything on your watch list? Any series or movies?
No, I've got Gladiator Wicket this week. I'm going to try to roll through a lot of these screeners that I have. There was one, I can't think of it right now, but there are a couple of shows coming out over the next couple of weeks. But I did Cobra Kai. I've done a couple of Netflix shows, but nothing that's really topped Penguin over the last several weeks, which is kind of cool. But yeah, man, Gladiator 2, we're here. We've made it, man. We're close.
We did. Do we have a special guest on that podcast?
It may or may not be the same special guest we have been teasing for months. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it will continue to not happen until it happens. Yeah. And so there's a chance. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
If it doesn't happen, then it's just like every other week in my life.
Exactly. Exactly. Nothing will change,
Anyway, I was asking about your watch list because I'm just trying to gauge when I'm going to get a text from you being like, bro, Yellowstone is sick.
Hey, man, I caught up on Yellowstone. I'm going to try. Hey, man, because my parents, it's not just you. It's my parents. It's my friend Devin. It's my friend Sam. Like, they're all like, dude, what are you doing? You review movies and you haven't watched Yellowstone? I'm like, I'm sorry. So we'll get there, I hope.
It's on Peacock.
Okay.
And it's also like one of those shows where like some like diehard Yellowstone fans will probably hate that I'm saying this, but it's kind of a show that you can walk away from and then like come back and sit back down. And so it's not like you have to pay attention to every single little freaking thing.
Sure.
So like you can walk away, maybe dinner's on the stove, you're cooking dinner, you come back, sit down, you can go to the bathroom, come back. And it's like, it's not like you have to be planted to get every single little thing that's happening either. So I think that's kind of nice. It's just a vibe.
Yeah, that's my parents said they get they used to be big Little House on the Prairie folks, okay? And they started watching Yellowstone. They're like, very different show than Little House on the Prairie. But they get their Little House on the Prairie fix. Like, It's a Western. You've got people with good morals, got people with bad morals, making mistakes, this and that. And they're like, they get that fixed, but it's like a 2024 version where it's darker and grittier and crazy things happen. And so they've always, watched that show since I've been a kid. And that's the kind of show where you can walk away from, come back to. It's always the same thing. Not that that's Yellowstone, but that was a fun little comparison that they gave me. And so I'm like, thanks, Dad. That's definitely going to get me to watch Yellowstone, Little House on the freaking Prairie.
Yeah, Yellowstone is definitely more serialized. It doesn't happen often where I would endorse walking away from. Like, nothing about the Penguin makes me think I can get up and walk away for a scene or two.
For sure.
But in Yellowstone, it's like, I can like throw Yellowstone on and just maybe my argument makes more sense. Like, it's a great show to just rewatch and just like have on. Like, it's a cable watch for a show that you could like marathon. That's another thing too. I dropped in and started watching the show because it was just being marathoned. And so if like even Lost isn't a great show to just like drop in on if it's playing on cable. Like, there's a reason Lost isn't ever had. I think there was a time when the Sci-Fi Channel had Lost in syndication, like 15. I think I was in college, so it was a long time ago. Yeah. But it's not like Lost is like a cable watch that you just drop in on.
No.
But Yellowstone is. You can just drop in on an episode of Yellowstone as it's airing, and it work perfectly. I mean, that's how I found my way back. So I don't know. Maybe I miss that too. It's been a while since I felt that way about TV, especially a drama. Yeah, obviously a sitcom like The Office or something you can throw on anytime. But anyway, Yellowstone's just got a lot of accolades that I've been I don't know, missing. So anyway,
everything's Criminal Minds and CIS. Like, my wife's watching House right now. She's rewatching House, and so everything feels like it's that kind of genre. So for a Western to be something that you can drop in and out of, that's cool. I think that's really cool. It's the power of Kevin Costner, baby.
And it's pretty. It's just a pretty show.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, guys, we love you. We'll be back next week, this week, or later this week, whatever. However it works out to talk Gladiator 2. And I'm excited.
Me too.
That's it.
All right. Good job.